those are all-star, superstar numbers. Deni Avdija, though, particularly in the absence of their guards of late, he just continues to really pop. He went crazy at the end of last year as they had the greatest close to a season in franchise history at 23-18. But you thought maybe it was just his drive game. That was all just silly season. And no, it really has been very difficult to stop. Give me his top line numbers here before we start discussing what I saw on film from him.
Deni Avdija is playing 34 minutes a game, averaging 26 points, 6.7 rebounds, 5.7 assists. And for those who prefer this, 62.5% true shooting on almost 28% usage.
Yeah, and those are all-star, superstar numbers. We'll get into the all-NBA conversation in the next couple weeks at some point here, but it certainly is. We're going to have to look at him pretty closely, and we noted against the Bulls and the Warriors what he was able to do. Now, they got completely smoked by Oklahoma City today. It was a revenge game for Oklahoma City that's Oklahoma City's only loss.
Yes,
is that right?
Yes, it is.
In Portland. So Portland was not going to win that game with as few guards as they have. And I think, a team that's going to really put pressure on him, that can make things difficult. I thought the Warriors had their best stretches against him, of which there were few, when they actually put two on the ball and made Portland beat them elsewhere. But to me, Avdija, the thing that is the foundation of his game is getting to the basket. And I noted to Tiago Splitter, hey, all your guards went down. You're able to still score 120 against the Bulls and the Warriors with Deni basically at the controls up top, and talk about what that's looked like for you. So here's what he had to say on that one.
Yeah, so the last two games you've had these injuries at the guard position. You put the ball in Deni's hands up top, and he's just been able to get to the rim. You haven't had many other players, but you're scoring 120 in both of these games. So you comment on just what it's been like having him at the controls and what his ability to get into the paint is doing to the opposing defense.
Yeah, I mean, his ability to go downhill is his forte, right? Everybody's kind of like send him left because he wants to go right and all of that, but he finds a way to get to the rim or find teammates, because they were like clogging the paint, putting 3-4 guys out there, and he was just dishing the ball and finding DC, finding CD, Caleb. So he's a smart player. He's a very good offense player. So, you put the ball on his hands and the gravity is just going to happen. He either score or he's going to find someone.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Splitter mentioned that teams try to take away his right hand and he always gets to his right hand. That's really true. He's, I think, a frustrating guy to play against because it doesn't seem like he's doing that much. It doesn't seem like what he's doing is like, oh, he's just got all these moves. You just can't deal with the guy. You do one thing against him, he's got this amazing counter. It's not a Luka Doncic type of situation, but yet he gets to where he wants to go on the floor, and his handle is good enough. I think where you could say it starts is in transition, where he's been awesome. And he really runs the floor hard. He's benefited a ton from the way that Portland is getting out and running. They've been the highest team in the league all year in terms of getting the ball across half court within 2 seconds or 4 seconds. Both of those categories, if you add them together, they are by far the highest percentage in the league. And particularly in the Bulls game, he's been great. And some of the slow steps that he's able to do in transition are really beautiful. We talked about that one at the end of the Bulls game on Wednesday, and on the YouTube, we'll try to show that to you momentarily here. But that slow step game works so well because he's huge. He's 6'8", 6'9", and unless he's going up against a 7-footer, anyone else is just going to kind of fly by him, or they'll have to slow down, and then they won't be able to jump either. And so he still has plenty of size to finish it, even if he's not going to be able to jump too high off the ground because he's gone to that slow step move. And then he also, we saw this in the Warriors game too, he really has done a good job of mastering what the current rules can give you, because you basically have almost 3 touch points to make a move. You can pick the ball up initially with what's known as the gather step. You could make a pass fake on the first, or you could make a shot fake on the first step, a pass fake on the second step, and then lay it in on the third step. So once he gets going downhill, he is excellent at making decisions. He's big enough to finish, but also then he's a really good passer as well. And we saw that in the Warriors game where he was able to find Donovan Clingan over and over again. And Donovan Clingan, they're not using him in pick and roll as much. That's the other thing too, is Avdija is so big and the rules are so favorable to big ball handlers that you can run pick and roll against these smaller players. And that's what they tried to do at the end of the Warriors game, is go after Steph Curry a couple times. And Golden State blitzed him, got out of his hands, but he also is just a really smart player who's been playing in a lot of systems over the years. And so on both of those occasions, he was able to make a cut and get the ball back on the move. And then he made great assists off those plays too. So Clingan is hanging out more on the baseline. A, that gives him more offensive rebounding gravity. And B, he can come along the baseline and get a great pass from Avdija, because the big who's guarding him has to step up, because Avdija is just too big. He's going to finish. And so when that guy steps up, then Avdija is doing a great job of putting the ball where Clingan can do something with it with that great standing reach. He had one play in the Warriors game coming downhill where Draymond Green was on the backside guarding the weak side corner, and Avdija put it right on top of the rim for Clingan to dunk. Draymond Green knew it was coming and just couldn't get there, which is very rare that you'll see from him. And plenty of other plays too, where they just are not able to do anything about it because Clingan's the only guy who can get to where the ball's being thrown. And then you'll see teams will try to counter by collapsing in, cracking down on Clingan, and then you've got a 2-on-1 on the backside. And on a Caleb Love's icing 3 in that Warriors game, he was able to manipulate that as well. And it all comes back to he's able to get in the lane, but he's then able to play slow from that point. So he gets to a point where Gary Payton II is on the weak side. He has to make a decision. Because he's on Caleb Love, who's on the wing. They have another shooter in the corner. I think it was Jeremy Grant. So eventually, Gary Payton has to go to the corner. That's the more dangerous shooter. It's the one who's in front of the guy's eyes. So Avdija, because he's going slow, he's able to see that. Gary Payton is going down to the corner, throw it back out to Caleb Love. Caleb Love bangs the game icing 3 against Golden State. And the way that Avdija is able to handle the ball and go after smaller players, not turn it over, get back to his right hand if he needs to. And then he doesn't really have much of a mid-range game, but he's able to make the play because you have to step up on him or he's just going to finish at the basket. It's been a really difficult combination to stop. And then the other thing that's been really useful is that he's made his spot ups these last couple of years too. He's very reliable on those, to be sure. The one thing that he has struggled with is shooting off the dribble from 3. He's down in the 20s on that, but it kind of doesn't really matter because if you back off of him, he's just going to eat up that space and then be too big for you coming downhill with some momentum. And then if he's off the ball and he can make it, that's where it really would matter more. So it's not really that big of a deal that he can't shoot the 3 out the dribble because he's so big and so physical that you can't let him get ahead of steam anyway. So you got to guard him pretty legitimately on those plays, and especially because a lot of the screens that he's running are just with smaller players, not necessarily with the center. And so it doesn't matter as much that, the center can be in a drop coverage and you can get over the screen. Like he can get some momentum going at these smaller players. And then when he's coming downhill, he's going to make the play without having to involve the big initially. And that has been really powerful for him.
It's a pretty remarkable development curve for Avdija so far, who was at times underappreciated. He's played significant minutes his entire career, those years with the Wizards, and then he built into being more of a consistent starter towards the end of that run. But he always had pretty good skills with the ball in his hands, but you wondered how that was going to materialize. How is he going to create the advantage and maximize the advantage? And so what's happened with him, I'm not saying it's the same in terms of development, but it's sort of a similar path in some ways to Pascal Siakam, who deservingly won most improved player at one point. And I think Avdija is going to be in that conversation. Not that you and I will have that conversation until much later in the year, because he's doing some of the stuff that he did well before, but ramping up his role within the offense and being more effective. And I mean, one way of describing this is that Avdija, his assists have gone up significantly. He's at 6 per 36 now.
Yeah.
But here I want to just briefly run through his free throw attempts per 36 minutes, starting with this. So this is rookie year. 1.3, 2.5, 2.9, 4.4, 6.2, 8.6 this year.
And he's making his free throws now too.
Oh yeah, 84% this year.
Yeah, which he was not great at as a prospect. So the Blazers have officially won that trade now. I don't think there's any way that, I mean, the other pick that's coming isn't until 2029, and it's the second best, I think, of like Blazers and Bucks, if memory serves. The other one became Bub Carrington in 2024. They didn't know it would be Bub Carrington, but it was the 14th pick in the draft. And it kind of didn't make sense to bring him in at the time because we wondered if would that make Portland too good. But hey, if he's going to turn into an all-star level of player, like, yeah, it's a pretty good price. And Portland may run into some issues extending him. They will not be able to extend him unless they renegotiate and extend him because he just makes too little. He makes $11.9 million in the last year of that deal. Man, that's got to feel terrible for Washington to have signed him to this brilliant contract. Then he turned into an all-star on that contract with somebody else. But yeah, I mean, I was in favor of the trade for Washington at the time. I was wrong. He is popped in a way, like credit Portland staff for identifying him. Because frankly, if he had just been the same guy he was in Washington and just turned into like an okay starter, things wouldn't be too great there right now. But with him evolving maybe into the best of all these guys that they have, and Shaedon Sharp's looking pretty good so far. We'll see if Scoot, maybe when his hamstring grows back, and Klingon is going to be a starting quality center for a long time, it looks like. So they're at least have the foundation of a quality team for a while now, even if some of the vet focused moves haven't made a ton of sense there.